Good evening. Now you're adrift in a sea of lights, a foolish villain in an endless chapter. The demons riding behind your eyes, a simple shadow we can fight together. I'll never walk away. Let's kill something.
Thanks Media Award and welcome to my Halloween Horror Month review. That's right folks, it's time to do a bunch of horror movies, going back from the 70s to today's modern horror films. There's a lot of great ones out there folks. There's some bad ones as well, but hopefully we'll talk about some of the better ones and some of my personal favourites and some ones that I've watched recently as well for the very first time. I look forward to sharing all these quick, awesome horror films with you folks and to share my thoughts and opinions about them, what I liked, what I didn't like about them. And of course, if you have any thoughts and opinions, any suggestions, please comment down below and I'll try and do as many horror related videos as can possible. If you want to see my previous horror movie reviews, please go and search on the channel. There's plenty of videos on there. I've done a list of Paranormal Activity movies. I've done a good portion of the Friday the 13th movies. I'm hoping to do a lot of other ones as well soon for you folks. Big franchise reviews. So this one we've got is Wolf Creek 1 and 2 for you folks. I'm talking about both my opinions on both these movies. Now both films are directed and written by Greg McLean. He's a guy that basically did the first Wolf Creek movie back in 2005. It was his very first kind of director debut. He had an idea to do this kind of Australian boogeyman, this kind of make the daylight kind of creepy and to have this kind of figure that basically just symbolises a local town person, Australian, that could turn out to be an absolute nutter, a killer, and he believes in this kind of diluted sense of patriotism and we got to get rid of the vermin and things like that. The Mick Taylor character himself I think is absolutely creepy and just funny and just bonkers, completely honest. They definitely touch upon his character a lot more in the sequel I thought, but for the first movie, the 2005 movie, when I first watched it, be honest with you folks, I didn't quite enjoy it. I felt it had a lot of flaws and I did not enjoy it at all, to be honest. I just felt the first hour of it was quite slow and boring. There wasn't much going on. Character development was a bit lacking there. But I wanted to rewatching again, being the fact of the sequel. I wanted to revisit the first movie and I picked up a Blu-ray for a really cheap price. And basically, I liked it a lot more second time around. It still isn't as good as the second one, I think, perfectly honest. But I'm going to put those opinions later on. As the first movie by itself, I just feel like it's got potential to be bigger than it is in a sense. The first hour of the movie is giving you kind of like false, hints and things like that, and false, who's basically the villain of this kind of movie in a sense is. Like, is it that character? Is it this character? Is it suggesting this? Is it suggesting that? The first hour is mainly focused upon these kind of like college kids. There's a little bit of like love interest in there, which is kind of irrelevant and just not needed at all, I think, perfectly honest. I can understand what the director was trying to do. He was trying to build some likable characters, give a sense of like, this could be you or me, especially the fact it's aimed at kind of like teenagers mainly, I suppose, or young adults that want to travel, the Australian outbacks, and basically these college students practically go to the Wolf Creek and they explore the town, things like that. And obviously when Mick Taylor's character, which is of course the iconic villain of the piece, once you know that, I think it just takes away something out of the movie. It becomes less suspenseful and just like, when's it going to happen, especially knowing what I know now, it's not as good as it was that first time. I can understand what he was trying to do in terms of a first time director and writer, and he was trying to give that give that sense of character development to make these characters likable to some degree, or give that sense of anything could happen practically. And they do suggest a number of things, and it happens to be that the local nice guy Australian that's just basically give them a nice little lift into town practically, and that's the most creepiest bit of all, I think. And Mick Taylor's character is probably the most iconic of the actual piece. He's the best part of the entire movie, both movies anyway, to be perfectly honest. And he's just so batshit crazy and just a twisted sense of patriotism, like you got to get rid of the vermin, things like that, and I'm gonna cut you boy, things like that. And he is absolutely nuts. This guy, there is no reason with him practically. He's he's going to do what he's going to do regardless, no matter what you say or scream, help, convince him, whatever. A lot of bad character decisions, a lot of questionable moments. Like there's a good scene where the actual strongest one with the group practically is going to shoot him. She shoots him in the neck, and then all of a sudden like she tries to shoot him on the ground, fails, there's no bullets in it. Instead of getting another bullet or something or trying to find it, she basically just drops the gun on near him and basically tries to run, which is okay, fair enough, but you don't leave the gun next to the killer that's just been knocked out practically, or just been injured, fired by a bullet wound. There's just questionable decisions like that, or going back to try and find something. It's just like kind of thing like that. I would say Mick Taylor's the best part of the entire movie because he is definitely batshit, and he's just so funny and interesting to just watch the character. And I like his dialogue in the first movie. I think it's just very interesting, and his classic kind of signature movies, of course, the spine twister, which I just think is seriously nasty, and just the idea of not being able to move. I think that's just for a serial killer like a golden ticket, and just being there paralysed, cannot move, and being a bare witness to what's going to happen. And the fact that you don't know what happens to some of these characters, it adds to the actual mystery of he cannot be caught. He's the boogeyman practically, in a sense. And there's other characters in there as well. There's the woman character, which she tries her best to try and escape, and try and outsmart the actual villain, of course. And there's some good moments here and there, but I felt her character was a bit too crying all the time, or you just pull yourself together. I understand the fact of the situation being stressful and things like that, but if you had a chance to escape, you don't continue to keep being a liability. You keep going, you keep moving, and I felt fair enough to that character. And there's some good moments definitely towards the last parts of it, with the whole car chase sequence, things like that. I think that's great. I love those sequences. The final moments with the moments with the main kind of strong girl, the main leader girl, I think is really good as well. One thing I just didn't like at all, and it still bugs me even after a second viewing, is the ending. It builds up so much, and you got a first hour of character development, false, is it this, is it that kind of thing like that, and then once it gets into the main kind of kick into gear, it just loses all of its steam, and it just flats out, just ends practically. It just ends with a very weak ending, and for me it just ruins the entire movie. It really does. It's an hour and 46-minute movie, and by the end of it, it's just very unsatisfying. There's good moments in there, but not enough for justified me to keep the film, not enough for me to watch it even again. There's some good moments in there. Mick Taylor's good. There's some good, one or two good character moments I did enjoy, and lines that I thought were funny, but it's deeply, the characters are deeply flawed in their question decisions. I felt some of the ways they managed to escape, or how they managed to handle the situation, is really, unrealistic, I think, to a degree. And I just, by the end of it, it's whatever kind of thing, I don't care. So yeah, Wolf Creek 1, scariest movie of the year, says The Guardian. Not really. It's well directed. It's good vision of it for a first time director. Definitely one of the better movies out there in terms of low budget horror, and a first time director that wants to do something different, and he manages to capture a vision, which luckily he did a sequel, which is just so much better in every single way. So yeah, Wolf Creek 1, I think as itself, it's not quite good enough to keep. It's not quite good enough to kind of own on Blu-ray or DVD. A horror film, I'm not going to watch it again. I don't care. Why watch the first movie? I can watch that even better movie straight after. So yeah, Wolf Creek 1, that's my thoughts and opinions on that movie, folks. But a shocking 9 years later, we have a sequel to a movie which really most people have forgotten about. No one's actually asking for a sequel, and the same writer and director comes back to do a follow-up to the events of the first movie, take that character, put him in a different situation, give him a more worthy opponent to tackle, and we have his Wolf Creek 2. Wow, what a movie, seriously. When the trailer released last year for this movie, I was intrigued, very intrigued. It looks like they have a bigger budget, a much stronger script. I think the directing in this movie is so much better, the written work is so much better. It's just everything in the first movie that I felt was lacking or not enough of. Took that and just practically poured it into this movie and gave it a kind of the Hitcher style to it. I just think it's absolutely really good horror film. I actually really raved this film. If you've seen my reviews on Letterboxd, when I first watched it, I absolutely loved it. I still love watching it now on actual Blu-ray. I just think the actual character Mick Taylor in this movie, I just think there's a lot more of. He is actually one of the main characters in it. The first opening sequence is with him, Mick Taylor, and just seeing more of him, and that's the whole point. His character is so, he's so well performed, and he's got batshit crazy, and you just want to hear more from him. I would love to see personally a bedtime story with Mick Taylor reading it, because I think he'll just do it so twistedly and dementedly, and it's just interesting. It really is. And I think he's definitely been doing this for a long time now. You can just see more of a sense of who he is as a person, what he does more. You can see more of his kind of HQ and failure. We had a bunch of German high school students that are visiting Australia, backpacking, kind of, exploring the landscapes, and we followed them for a good portion of the first, 30 minutes of the movie, I would say. And I think that's really good. It's just really interesting, good character moments. Keeping it nice and short, straight to the point. The lead scenes has more character development in that, which I felt the director knew this time around to have not too much, not too little, and just enough right for me to actually care about the characters enough to actually make sure, like, oh, when the character Mick Taylor comes, I know they're in danger. It doesn't lead into that kind of false hope security now, like the first movie. Is like, is it this, is it that, is it that character? We know who the villain is this time. We know it's this priestly son of a bitch, practically. And when he comes, we want the characters to run away, we want the characters to survive and, outsmart him, and, don't trust this character, don't trust this friendly Australian, which is going to help you, coincidentally, get you back into town. I like that. I think it's just really good. The actual violence and the blood is just much more violent. There's, definitely just a little bit of over-the-top violence in there for sure. Some questionable CGI kangaroo violence as well. When you got a character driving a truck saying, welcome to Australia while running over kangaroos, you have a batshit crazy film. And there's a little bit inspired there from Texas Chainsaw, definitely for sure, in terms of, his where he's doing it and what he's doing to the bodies as well, which is interesting, curiously. He runs into a character later on, this kind of British character, ironically, which is great. And a good portion of the movie is a chase movie. It's like The Hitcher, basically. This character is in a situation he can't get out of. He's trying to run away. He's trying to get back. Trying to get some help. And this character won't let him go. Mick Taylor's on his tail. He's using everything. He's using knives. He's stealing trucks, he's doing this, he's doing that. It's just like, this is fantastic, this is really fantastic. And again, there's enough character development with the British character as well, and loads of character development with the Mick Taylor. One of the most impressive sequences out of the entire movie, I felt, was close to the final acts of it, when they actually had this kind of intellectual battle, and kind of, Mick Taylor's doing this kind of like, I'm going to give you 10 questions about Australia, and he basically, it's a really good situation, because the British character is someone that's like stuck in a situation. He has to keep surviving. He has to like appeal to the softer side of this kind of maniac, practically, and he's trying to make him laugh, make jokes, play upon that British humour a little bit, and answer his questions, and actually try and at the same time escape and fight back. And I love that. Overall, I think Wolf Creek 2 is just a much better movie. It's a solo, standalone movie. You can enjoy this movie by itself. You don't need to watch the first one. You can watch it with the first one if you wanted to get a sense of the character beforehand, but I don't think you need to, perfectly honest. It doesn't reference any of the events of the first movie. It's a standalone movie. You get to see more of the character I wanted to see first time around anyway. More of his sense of his batshit crazy kind of personality. The survival characters, the characters that are on the run, are interesting, they're likeable, you're rooting for them. There's enough in there in terms of violence, over the top, gore, and just fun nature stuff, Hitcher style, and showing plenty of the beautiful Australian outback. It's directed well, it's written well, it looks beautiful, and I just love watching it. If you're a horror fan, I would definitely recommend Wolf Creek 2. It's a must-own on Blu-ray, it's a must-own watch for sure. Go and watch it. And I would love to see a third and final instalment of the Wolf Creek trilogy to see how it all ends. But yeah, that's been my thoughts and opinions on Wolf Creek 1 and 2 for you folks. What are your thoughts and opinions on both films? Have you seen them? What do you think? What would you like to see for a third movie? How would you see for a last confrontation movie? I'd like to know your opinions, folks. Comment down below. So in the meantime, Anthony, signing out.